You are about to enter the world of urban legends, where fact is often stranger than fiction. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between truth and urban legend. You are in the land of urban legends and are about to see 3 stories. Each could be true, but they're not. Only one is real. The other 2 are myths. It's up to you to figure it out. Unholy explosion. A church choir cheats death, 1 member at a time. Burning mystery. Welcome to a town where spontaneous combustion happens all too frequently. Hospital horror. A cursed hospital bed spells certain death for all who sleep in it. Which of these stories is true? Which one actually happened? Don't decide until you've seen all 3. We'll tell you if you're right at the end of the show. First up, die another day. Avoiding a bad situation is usually attributed to good luck or being in the right place at the right time. But having the good fortune to narrowly avoid a catastrophe, well, the people in this story know exactly how that feels. Falls, Iowa, 1950. Fate, good fortune, or just plain luck is about to save a group of people from a major catastrophe and certain death. They will be left shaken, but alive. Meet Gail Burnham. Her father was the minister of the town's Baptist church, and every Wednesday night, he was at the church for choir practice.
Daddy always went down to the church on the night of choir practice to warm it up because it got really cold.
Reverend Burnham would then return home for dinner with his family. Then they would all go back to church for the choir meeting that always began promptly at 7:20. This particular Wednesday evening is no different, except for something that occurs at the dinner table.
I spilled ice cream on my dress, and my mother had to iron a new dress for me and put the old one in the wash.
This little accident means the family will be late for choir practice. Reverend Burnham isn't happy.
He's so upset that we're late.
It was now 7:29. The family is almost 10 minutes late, but they would soon learn that the setback is also their saving grace.
And we're getting to the church, and all of a sudden, there's this loud boom.
The West Side Baptist Church explodes, and what's left of the structure is engulfed. Earlier that evening, Reverend Burnham turned on the furnace to warm the church, and he lit some candles. But he didn't notice the smell of gas leaking from the heating system. The church was a holy tinderbox, ready to blow to high heaven. Shock immediately turns to despair when they realize the choir was probably somewhere in the church, waiting for the minister's arrival when the explosion occurred. If so, no one could have survived. Meet Judith and Ruth Reinholds, sisters. As girls in 1950, they looked forward to their weekly choir get-togethers. They were never late.
We were all set to go to choir practice. We went out to the car, and my goodness, it wouldn't start. Stone cold dead. The engine wouldn't turn over at all.
They too arrived late at the place where the church once stood.
And there I saw the church, which should have been standing nice and tall, a pile of rubble on the ground.
The sisters are not the only lucky ones. Meet Wanda Fisher. In 1950, she was a teen who loved to sing and who was never late for choir practice.
That particular night, I was having trouble with a geometry problem, and I couldn't get it to work out.
A tough math problem saves her life, but she immediately thinks the worst.
I thought first of my friends in the choir, and I thought, they must all be dead.
But the West Side Baptist Church choir is very much alive. Incredibly, a fiery fate has missed each one of its members. Jerry Littell stubbed his toe on a curb and had to hobble the rest of the way. Judy Lewis fell asleep after taking the wrong medication after dinner. Gerald Wise is delayed by a door-to-door salesman. Peggy Belleville misplaced a shoe.
One by one, everybody came. Nobody was in the church. We would have all perished in that blast. We would have all died.
Divine intervention, an incredible stroke of luck, or just a myth? Did this actually happen? We'll tell you at the end of the show. While you work that out, work on this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 991. The Dumb Doggy Dispatch. Airline staff on Flight 816 to Hawaii was horrified to discover on landing that a pet dog stored in the cargo hold for the flight was dead. Fearing a massive lawsuit, they delayed the owner in the terminal while they replaced the deceased hound with an identical live one. Nice work. But the owner collapsed from shock. Her dog was already dead. She was shipping it home so it could rest in peace beside her dead and dog-loving husband. Is this story true? No, it's false. This popular story began circulating in the 70s, and the pets, airlines, and locations change each time the story is told. This is how urban legends works. We present 3 stories. One really happened, but the other 2 didn't. They're just legends. It's up to you to figure out which one's real. So far, you've seen the church choir, saved from certain death by several strange twists of fate. Now have a look at our next story, the town that quite literally went up in smoke. Fire. It's deadly dangerous, and given the right conditions, a blaze can break out in seconds. Thousands of lives are lost each year in house fires, and it lays waste to hundreds of thousands of acres of forest. Most of the time, there is a straightforward explanation for its cause. But for the residents of this tranquil village in Sicily, the reasons behind a series of fires is nothing short of a mystery. Caneto di Carogna, Sicily, 2003. One man becomes the victim of some truly bizarre blazes. Meet Nino Pezzino.
A casa.
I was at home, and the first fire started at my house. Some wires caught fire.
It's a small electrical fire, easily put out.
We realized that there was this problem with the wiring, and we thought it was just us, so we called the electrician, and we got the house rewired.
The electricity is shut off while the wiring is fixed. The circuitry is dead. Nothing can work. So why then does Nino's television burst into flames? They can find no logical explanation to that question, but it's only the beginning of a strange set of occurrences. Fires begin breaking out in the village. Nino's cousin's house is gutted.
It was the mattress. Inside the mattress, all the springs had melted, but the outside of the mattress was totally fine, so these weren't normal fires.
An investigation fails to find the source of the ignition. It's decided that the electrical power to the village should be cut off.
Nothing happened for 6 days, so we were convinced that we had solved the problem. But then there was this fire on some fuse boxes, even though there was no power. We found that even without electricity, we were having the same problems.
The sight of fire extinguishers on sidewalks and street corners is common, but it's a little comfort to those who have already experienced the fiery phenomenon. Light switches, appliances, cell phones, and even water pipes catch fire. And although it's never confirmed, a young man claims his trousers caught fire. Many are skeptical, but no one is ready to rule it out. With fires breaking out without apparent source, they continue to search for clues. Some begin to suspect the nearby train line. It's determined that a buildup of electrical energy caused by grounding wires is to blame. But that is just one of many theories put forward by various experts and scientists. Meet civil engineer Francesco Venerendo.
We never had any difficulty before tackling things such as earthquakes, forest fires, volcanoes, that sort of thing. But in the whole history of emergencies in Italy, this was unheard of, something we couldn't explain at all.
Everything is blamed, from naturally occurring surges of electricity to volcanic activity on Mount Etna miles away. But nothing can be proven. In desperation, villagers turn to the church.
The one thing we did do was that we asked the local priest to perform a mass for us. I never used to think it was possible for these sorts of things to exist. I'm a very skeptical person, but when they happen in front of you, things spontaneously combust in front of your eyes, you start to believe in the paranormal.
Cagneto di Carogna seems in the grips of what is referred to as spontaneous combustion. There is no such thing as a safe place, and residents are desperate for answers. But then, as suddenly as it began, it stops. There hasn't been a fire since the summer of 2005. Now, the entire village is under the watchful eye of the latest high-tech magnetic and thermal detection equipment. Experts hope that science will be able to provide the answer to this bizarre fiery phenomenon. Nino Pizzino, along with the rest of the villagers, are relieved, but on edge. For now, the cause of the fires remains a mystery. So there you have it. No ironic twist of fate, no incredible escape or survival. Just an odd story that isn't really over. Did spontaneous combustion happen in a small town in Sicily? While you consider that burning question, consider this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 188. Just plain weird. A 747 passenger jet flying over Green Bay, Wisconsin, accidentally jettisons a 100-pound block of frozen toilet waste. This solid mass of icy effluent smashes through the roof of a house. The block strikes a family pet dog and then melts, flooding much of the living room. The owners arrive home after work to discover the mess and their poor dog. But they have no idea what could have caused the calamity. Could a frozen block of toilet waste really drop from the sky? Did this happen? No, it's false. Passenger plane sewage contents can't be ejected. It must be vacuumed out after landing. On urban legends, there are 3 stories. One of them is true, but the other 2 never happened. Can you tell which is which? So far, you've seen the members of a choir saved from a deadly explosion by strange coincidences. And you've seen people in houses spontaneously and most mysteriously burst into flames. Now watch, as a hospital bed takes on a life of its own by killing all who sleep in it. Pelenomi Hospital, Bloemfontein, South Africa, 1996. Something strange is going on in the intensive care unit. And at the center of this deadly mystery is a hospital bed. Meet bed number 3. It's said that once you get in it, you won't get up. One person is a witness to the strange deaths that occur in the hospital's ICU. Meet nurse Penny Walden.
Every Thursday was my day off. And on Fridays, when I came back in, the patient in bed 3 had passed away.
In Nurse Walden's first 4 weeks on the job, 4 patients die in bed 3. But her 5th patient in as many weeks seems to be well on a road to recovery.
Mr. Grun was responding very well to treatment, so I thought he's going to, be fine, not a problem.
But on Thursday, Penny's day off, he suddenly dies. A pattern is developing. Every Thursday for the past 5 weeks, a patient dies in the ICU, and every one of them has been in bed 3. Penny takes her observations to the hospital administrator. Meet Mark Garner.
I must admit, I was initially a little wary, but it was pretty amazing to see this pattern.
And not only that, between 8:15 and 8:45 in the morning. Now, I'm sorry, no one could convince me that that was just a coincidence.
Could someone or something be killing patients? An investigation is launched. At the same time, rumors begin to spread around the hospital.
People started to call bed 3 the deathbed, saying it was cursed as well. All kinds of crazy talk.
For the same fatal half hour every Thursday, the hospital posts a guard at bed 3. It becomes known as the Vigil.
It just stopped. No one died on Thursdays in bed 3 anymore. But then, of course, we decided, well, there's no need for the vigil anymore. The vigil stops, and that's it. Next week, another death. Bam.
But then Penny switches shifts with a colleague. And on Thursday, July 2nd, 1996 at 8:22 a.m., it all becomes clear.
I could not believe it.
Agnes, the cleaner, polishes the floor in the ICU. And the cord can't reach from the wall to bed 3.
So what she had to do was use the plug right by the bed. Now, what was plugged into that plug right by the bed was a life support system.
Whenever Agnes unplugged the life support system and plugged in her floor polisher, another patient would end up dying. But how could she not notice the deaths week after week?
Well, when it's unplugged and she's plugged in a polisher, it obviously makes a lot of noise. And she can't hear then the patient actually convulsing on the bed. Also, she had a personal stereo.
But what about the times when guards were posted at bed 3? Agnes didn't want to disturb them on those occasions, so she didn't clean the room. The investigation concludes. The deaths are ruled accidental, and the hospital begins to settle each case. Cleaner Agnes is let go. Mark Garner is held accountable for the accidental deaths and is fired by the hospital's board. Nurse Penny Walden, however, continues to help save lives.
Well, I mean, that's what this job is all about.
So the curse of the deathbed turns out to be a cleaner's mistake. But did it happen? Was it true? We'll tell you after this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 402. The designated decoy. New York police watched Brian Flanagan stumble drunkenly out of a bar at closing time, get in his car, and drive away. They busted him, only to discover that he was completely sober. When asked how this could be, in light of his falling down drunk display earlier, Flanagan told them, "Tonight, I'm the designated decoy." While he was being taken into custody, all of his drunken buddies had driven off, avoiding the police. So was that story true or merely a decoy? It was false. This story first surfaced in 1996. It's derived from jokes that have been around for longer than that. Three incredible stories. Have you figured out which one is real? Did several patients die from a so-called cursed hospital bed, which turned out to be the work of a careless cleaner unplugging life support systems? Did the residents of a small town in Sicily spark an investigation into spontaneous combustion that still puzzles scientists today? Or could it be the members of the church choir who each coincidentally avoided a fiery fate at their church one night long ago? It's time to put the mystery of our three stories to bed once and for all. The story of the cursed bed was actually reported in 1996 by newspapers all over South Africa. But no one bothered to check the facts surrounding the multiple death rumors at the actual Palanomi hospital. The story is false. Urban legends often center on hapless culprits, as in this case, a floor cleaner who unplugged life support systems. It's possible to unplug the machine causing a patient to die, but it's a lot more difficult than we've shown. The systems have alarms, and many have backup battery power in case of emergency. That leaves the highly flammable Sicilian village and the choir, lucky to be alive. If you thought the story of the lucky choir saved from certain death was true, well, you'd be wrong. While there is no Westside Baptist Church in Falls, Iowa, nor is there a Falls, Iowa, there is one in Beatrice, Nebraska, or was one. It really did explode on March 1st, 1950. However, it was no wonder that the real choir lived. It has become a bit of a running joke with them, as no one ever turned up for choir practice on time that night, or any other. Like all good urban legends, this one has a kernel of truth, but the story gets warped during the telling over time. So that leaves us with the story of the village in Sicily, where spontaneous combustion burned fuse boxes, appliances, and homes in January of 2004. The story is true. Authorities have yet to figure out what caused the fires. Nino Pizzino really does live in Cagneto di Corogna, and he thinks they haven't seen the end of it.
I believe something will happen again. I can see they're not confident. They haven't figured out what's causing these fires yet.
Strange but true. Did you believe it? Well, if you didn't, then your quest for the truth continues on the next episode of Urban Legends.